Hello and welcome to KidsMeet the Prairies. We're excited to welcome students from the Canadian Prairies who are going to be sharing what it's like to live in their local communities from a kid's perspective. Presenters, please make sure your microphones stay muted while the other classes are talking. And then don't forget to unmute your microphone before you begin. While you're watching, please keep in mind that presenting a live webcast might be something that you might want to do in the audience as well. So as you're watching, you might be thinking, we'd like to do that sometime. In the future, we're going to be having webcasts on different themes such as Kids Meet the Great Lakes, Black History, primary classes, First Nations, Métis life, en français, and the Arctic. So if you're interested in becoming a presenting class for any one of these upcoming webcasts, please get in touch with us after the webcast. So right now, I'm going to turn the screen over to Marge Kobuka, who's going to explain how the Today's Meet room works. And I'm just waiting for a second, Marge, because I've got to pull up my sharing the screen. So let me just share the screen.
All right. Welcome, everyone. I'm happy to have you here too. And I'm hoping that what you see on the screen right now is Kids Meet the Prairies and a picture of the prairies. Now, you will be able to comment and add comments to our session today by going to Today's Meet. And Today's Meet, the link is exactly what you see here on the screen. I'm just gonna let it go back here. It's you're going to go into TodaysMeet.com and then /Kids Meet
the Prairies.
Meet the Prairies. Don't look at Kids Meet Canada, rather one word, Kids Meet the Prairies. So TodaysMeet.com /Kids Meet the Prairies. And this is for everyone who's watching on YouTube. Be sure to go on there. So I will be following your conversation, and I would love to see some good questions asked of our presenters. All right, take a look at the screen that's in front of you. I'm hoping that what you see is a screen with the Canada and the 3 Canadian prairie provinces. And we're going to be talking about the geographical area called the Prairies, and we know that Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba are called prairie provinces. Take a look here at the yellow, orange, and red area. That would be the area that we call the Prairies. So you can see that prairie land covers a great area of these 3 provinces. All right, I think we are ready to meet. I'm hoping that all of you are in TodaysMeet.com, Kids Meet the Prairies, and we're going to introduce our first class, and I'm excited to hear from them. And so our first class is from École Wascana Plains School from the Regina Board of Education near Regina, Saskatchewan. We're going to pass the mic to them.
All right, we are here.
Can you just wait a moment until you appear on the screen? There's a lag in time between the time. There you are. You're ready to go.
And our slides?
Just a moment. Thanks
Please.
for that.
Thank you. Perfect. Thank you.
All right.
Go for it, Kate.
Hello, and welcome from Wascana Plains School in Regina. Slide, please.
We are happy to be joining you from Treaty 4 territory, home of Neepewa, Lakota, Dakota, Nakota, and Anishinaabe, as well as the Métis Nation.
Kanse and Tawau. We are greeting you in the Cree language. We are committed to truth and reconciliation, and one of our goals is to respond to call to action number 14, which says that Indigenous languages are extremely important and we must work together to preserve them. It is our privilege to recognize the enduring presence of Indigenous peoples on this land that we all share. Slide, please.
Can I just interrupt for a second? Is the audience seeing the slide?
No.
Mr. Warner, are you seeing the slides, Mrs.
You need to, in order for the audience to see the slide, they would need to click on your window. So in the Google Hangout, the panel along the bottom with the different screens, audience members would need to click on that. I'm not sure about the YouTube link though.
Just let me, I'm going to stop sharing just for a moment, and I'm going to see what's going on here. Okay, let me start screen sharing again. Okay, Mr. Warner, can you speak it from this slide?
Absolutely we can, yeah. So Anushka will start from the Neepewa.
Okay. We are happy to be joining you from Treaty 4 territory, home of Neepewa, Lakota, Dakota, Nakota, and Anishinaabe, as well as the Métis Nation.
Tanse and Tawau. We are greeting you in the Cree language. We are committed to truth and reconciliation, and one of our goals is to respond to call to action number 14, which says that Indigenous languages are extremely important and we must work together to preserve them. It is our privilege to recognize the enduring presence of Indigenous peoples on this land that we all share. Slide, please.
Regina is the Queen City of Canada, established in 1882 and named in honor of Queen Victoria. In Latin, Regina translates to the Queen. We are home to the RCMP Training Center, and we are the capital city of Saskatchewan.
We are very excited to be sharing in this experience with all of you today. Today we want to present to you Regina, Saskatchewan Mythbusters. What is true and what is not true about our province and city. Slide, please. We put it out on Twitter to ask our learning network what myths, jokes, or stereotypes existed for Saskatchewan.
From our research, we heard several things. Examples that stood out were, we are so flat you can watch your dog run away for 3 days. Saskatchewan is all prairie. We're all Saskatchewan Rough Rider fans. It is cold. Everyone is a farmer. Slide, please.
Now, it is true that Saskatchewan is a prairie landscape, but it is something that everyone must see. We are flat, but it makes our amazing skies more visible. Our license plates say, Land of the Living Sky. It's full of color, extreme northern lights, migrating birds, and blue sky and clouds as far as the eye can see. Definitely make our skies a living experience. An amazing experience is watching a thunderstorm travel across the prairie. Slide, please.
Interesting fact. Regina was the site of one of the deadliest tornadoes in Canadian history, devastating the city on June 30th, 1912. The Regina cyclone killed 28 people, left 2,500 people homeless, and damaged over 500 buildings. Slide, please.
Although we are a prairie province, we also have beautiful urban centers. In Regina, we have Wascana Park. Our park is one of the largest urban parks in North America and is actually bigger than New York City's Central Park. Every tree in our park was hand-planted a long time ago. Slide, please. The name Wascana comes from the Cree word Wascana, which means pile of bones. The history of this name comes from the bison bones that could be found along the banks of Wascana Creek, well before Regina was a city. Slide, please.
Another attraction in Regina is the opportunity to attend a Saskatchewan Rough Rider home game. Some think that Saskatchewan people are a bunch of crazy Rough Rider fans. It is a fact that many Saskatchewan residents are loyal to our CFL team, but it isn't true for everyone. Some say we have the best fans in the league, and you will always see Rough Rider fans at games across the country. Attending a Rough Rider home game is definitely a good experience. Part of being a die-hard fan is the willingness to sit in the frigid temperatures to watch our team. Slide, please.
Saskatchewan is known for its long, cold winters, but the most remarkable thing is how much the weather shifts from summer to winter. The average low in January is negative 21.6 degrees Celsius. But this is without the wind chill, which can drop temperatures much lower. At times in the winter, we can go for several days without recess because it is too cold to go outside. It doesn't matter how cold it gets, however, school is always open.
With the lows dipping below minus 30 degrees in the winter and rising above 30 degrees in the summer, Regina can see a difference in over 60 degrees throughout the course of the year. Slide, please.
Our weather and landscapes are perfect for farming. Saskatchewan is home to some of the richest farmland in the world, and it makes up to 44% of Canada's total farmland. In Saskatchewan, farming makes up to 50,000 jobs. This is a lot of people but it is important to note that Saskatchewan, we are not all farmers, and we are all very different. Slide, please.
In Saskatchewan, we celebrate our diversity. The great people of our province include our Indigenous people who have made this part of our country home for hundreds of years, as well as those who have traveled here from all over the world to make Saskatchewan home.
We have students who are born in 11 different countries. As students, we work hard to value our differences and the way our different contributions, experiences, and perspectives make us stronger.
We have enjoyed the opportunity to prepare and present for you today. We hope that you enjoyed Regina Saskatchewan Mythbusters and have cleared up some of those misconceptions that exist. Kinanan Askomitin. Thank you very much.
And thank you. That was really interesting. I hope that there are some good questions being posted in the Today's Meet. Next up, we have H.M.K Kellington School in the Beautiful Plains School Division in Neepewa, Manitoba. And as you can see on the map, they're in southern Manitoba, west of Winnipeg. So I am going to stop sharing and pass it over to this class because they have a very interesting presentation for us. So let me just pass it over to Neepewa. Just wait for a moment until I'm watching to see that it comes on for the audience. Okay, you can begin.
Hello, we are Mr. Puddle's grade 4 class from H.M.K Kellington School in Neepewa, Manitoba. Today we're going to tell you about the history of Manitoba and also about the community of Neepewa. On July 15, 1870, Manitoba became the 5th Canadian province. The name Manitoba comes from the Cree and Ojibwe languages. It means the Great Spirit. Its size and shape gave it the nickname Postage Stamp Province. It measured about 200 kilometers from east to west and about 175 kilometers from north to south when it was little. Manitoba became the size it is today in 1912. Manitoba's population in 2017 is 1.3 million people.
Manitoba's official flower is the prairie crocus. It became the official flower in 1906. Manitoba's official bird is the great gray owl. It has been the official bird since 1987. Manitoba's official tree is the rice spruce. It became Manitoba's official tree in 1991.
Winnie the Pooh was inspired by a real black bear. Ray Colburn was a veterinarian that lived in Winnipeg, Manitoba. While on his way to fight during World War I, he met a black bear at a strange station in Ontario. He bought the bear for $20.
They named the bear Winnipeg because the soldier came from Winnipeg. For short, he was called Winnie. Harry had to fight in the war and couldn't take Winnie with him.
He left Winnie at the London Zoo. Christopher Robin and his dad saw the bear at the zoo. When they got home, they wrote a story about the bear.
Neepewa is located about 2 hours northwest of Winnipeg. The word Neepewa means land of plenty. It's from the Cree language. Neepewa became a town in the year 1883.
In 2001, the population in Neepewa was 3,325. Then in 2006, the population was 3,298. It was less than 2001's population. In 2016, the population in Neepewa increased to 4,609 because many more people got jobs at High Life Pork Processing Plant. I am going to talk about High Life. High Life is a pork processing plant that used to be known as Spring Hill Farms in Neepewa, Manitoba. There are more than 1,000 people that work at High Life. They butcher 1.6 million hogs every year. High Life processes pork and ships it to Winnipeg, Manitoba, Japan, China, and Russia. High Life also has a pork processing plant in Mexico. High Life's main office is in Winkler, Manitoba.
Margaret Lawrence was a short story writer and novelist from Canada. She wrote the books Jason's Quest, A Bird in the House, and The Olden Days Coat, which is a children's story. Margaret Lawrence was born on July 18, 1926 in Neepewa, Manitoba. Margaret Lawrence lived at 312 First Avenue in Neepewa, Manitoba. The Margaret Lawrence house was built in 1894 and Margaret Lawrence moved in with her family in 1944.
In the summer, it gets very hot in Neepewa. The temperature is usually between 25 degrees Celsius and 30 degrees Celsius in the summer.
In the summertime, we go swimming at Riverbend Park. You can also take swimming lessons at the Neepewa pool in the summer. We play soccer at the flats. At the flats, there are many soccer fields, a football field, and a walking path that was built to celebrate Canada 150.
We also play baseball at the baseball diamonds. There are 8 baseball diamonds at the fairgrounds. There are also a fair at the fairgrounds for 3 whole days every year. There are little kid rides and big people rides and a snack truck. In the winter, it gets very cold. Usually the temperature in Neepewa is minus 20 to minus 25 degrees Celsius.
There the temperature is 6 degrees Celsius and it's cloudy. In the winter, we shovel snow, set up Christmas decorations, make snowforts and snow angels. We play hockey at the Yellowhead Center or different rinks throughout the town. We also play hockey in our driveways. We like to ski, snowboard, and ride on snowmobiles too. We will tell you what it was like to move to Neepewa and what we like about Neepewa. Before I moved to Canada, I was nervous and excited because my best friend and I wanted to play with snow while we were still living in the Philippines. It took 14 hours to get to Canada from the Philippines. I came to Neepewa to live with my dad. I have lived here for 2 years now. My favorite place in Neepewa is the bird sanctuary because it's filled with many animals like birds, squirrels, bunny rabbits, peacocks, emus, geese, chipmunks, and goats. When I was at the airport in the Philippines, I was excited and nervous because I was going to see my mom in Canada. She lived in Neepewa for 1 year before my dad and I. And my favorite things about Neepewa is Riverbend Park because it's peaceful and beautiful in the autumn. There's a playground that is fun to play on, and there's a swimming pool where people have swimming lessons and go swimming. Now we're going to teach you some Tagalog. Tagalog is a language spoken by Filipinos. Kamusta? Kamusta, how are you? Salamat, thank you. Paalam, goodbye. We have 2 schools in Neepewa. The NACI Napier Area Collegiate Institute has grades 6 to 12. It has about 600 students.
H.M.K. School is the name of our school. H.M.K. stands for Hazel M. Kellington. She was a grade 1 teacher and principal a long time ago. Our school has from kindergarten to grade 5. There are about 450 students in our school. We just got a new playground at our school this summer.
Harvie was born on February 4th, 1995 in Neepewa. She went to our school. She started being a hockey player in 2011. In the fall of 2013, she joined the University of North Dakota Women's Ice Hockey Program. She played on the North Dakota Fighting Hawks and also for Team Canada Women's Ice Hockey Team. She came to our school last year and showed us her jersey. During 2011 and 2012, she was a member of Canada National Under-18 team, and she hopes to win an Olympic medal at the 2018 Winter Olympics in South Korea.
We're going to tell you some facts about Shane Knighty, who was an NHL hockey player. He was born on November 8, 1975 in Neepewa, Manitoba.
He played for the Nashville Predators, Atlanta Thrashers, Anaheim, and the Boston Bruins in the NHL.
Shane Knighty was a defenseman.
Shane Knighty won the Stanley Cup with the Boston Bruins in 2011 when they beat the Vancouver Canucks.
The Neepewa Natives are a hockey team.
They play in the Manitoba Junior Hockey League.
They play their games at the Yellowhead Center in Neepewa.
The Neepewa Natives started in 1949 and are one of the oldest hockey teams in Manitoba.
We are going to talk about a building built in 1884 here in Neepewa. The building is known as a courthouse, but the building is way much more than that. It was also used as a police station, jail, and surprisingly a theater before the Roxy Theater was built. It reminds me of the oldest buildings in town. If you go and visit there, you will find this statue. It shows almost all the soldiers who fought in the wars. Hope you can visit Neepewa and also visit the courthouse.
We're talking about three places. First, the Roxy Theater. The Roxy Theater was built in 1906. It's 111 years old. The town raised $86,000 in 2016 to get a new projector for movies. The Roxy Theater also allows people to rent the theater for parties, and they can play video games on the big screen. Next, the Prairie, next to hospital, the Prairie Mountain Health Center has 38 beds. It also has a gift shop. You can buy stuffed animals and toys. There are 7 doctors in Neepewa. Last, the beautiful Plains Museum. There's old wooden dolls, helmets from World War I, olden days beds, and many other vintage items. Built around 1902, it is open from Victoria Day until Labor Day. There was a train station where the museum is now. It used to be the Royal Canadian Train Station where you could buy tickets to travel across Canada by train. There's still a train car behind the museum. I'm going to talk about farming in Manitoba. Here are some plants farmers harvest: corn, sunflowers, wheat, carrots, and many more. Harvesting here in Manitoba occurs in mid-August to mid-September. Farming is common here in Manitoba because Manitoba has a lot of flat land for farming, and it gets warm in the summer that's just right for plants to grow.
The Titanic, the famous ship nicknamed the Unsinkable that hit an iceberg in the Atlantic Ocean, has a connection with Neepewa. It starts with a person named Leonard Hickman. He came from England and lived in Neepewa. In December 1911, he planned to visit his brothers, Louis and Stanley, who lived in England.
The three brothers, Louis, Stanley, and Leonard, sailed on the Titanic to go back to Eden, Manitoba. But on April 11, 1912, the Titanic sank and Louis, Stanley, and Leonard drowned. On May 10, 1913, they buried Louis at Riverside Cemetery in Neepewa, Manitoba. Even though they didn't find the other two brothers, the headstone still says all three brothers' names. Louis was the only victim from the Titanic disaster that was buried in all of Western Canada. We hope you learned many facts about Neepewa and Manitoba. We hope you can come to visit us someday.
That is awesome. Thank you so much. You have done a tremendous amount of work getting all of that ready. So thank you so much. Okay, we're going to go right now to our last presenter. I'm just sharing my screen. So,
I think that's our second last presenter, right?
Oh, yes,
this is our third presenter.
Absolutely, yeah. Yes. So we have something quite unusual about to happen, and we're just going to walk through it and hope it happens the way it's supposed to. When you're doing new things, as you can see, this whole webcast is a new thing. You often run into problems, which we ran into this morning, having to create a new link to the actual webcast. So what you're about to see, I'm not going to explain. You'll understand it, but we might have to do some adjustments. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for Eric Harvie School from the Calgary Board of Education, and I'm going to allow them to take over. So I'm going to stop my screen share, and I'm going to click on Eric Harvie School.
We would like to acknowledge...
I don't think we're seeing Eric Harvie School yet.
Okay. They should be coming up any moment. There they are. Okay, you can begin, Eric Harvie.
Just a second. Something just happened.
We'll just wait until you come up. Can you maximize that? Yep.
Can you see us?
Yes, we can.
We would like to acknowledge the traditional territories and oral practices of the Blackfoot Nations, which includes the Siksika, the Piikani, and the Kainai. We also acknowledge the Tsuut'ina and the Stoney Nakoda First Nations, the Métis Nation, Region 3, and all people who make their homes in the Treaty 7 region of Southern Alberta. We are grade 3-4 of Eric Harvie School, Calgary, Alberta. Most people think the prairies are made up of only grasslands, but have you ever wondered on what would happen when the prairies meet the coulee? I have a theory on how the coulee was made. Glaciers eroded, then created a valley with glaciers melting and rocks scattered everywhere with trees growing. A coulee is where grasslands, woodlands, and wetlands meet. In fact, the word coulee is a French word couler, which means running water. Our coulee is a joyous, peaceful place. I wonder how long it's been around. Did you know that the coulee has stayed stable for over 8,000 years? Stable means it has a cracked or fissured for a certain amount of time. It also means steady. Who were the first people that lived in the coulee? The First Nations tribe that hunted buffalo and antelope. The Europeans traveled 12 miles from Fort Calgary to hunt buffalo, antelope, deer, and more. Did you know that 12-mile coulee got its name from the Europeans because they had to walk 12 miles to the coulee? 12 miles is 19 kilometers.
Do you want to know something really cool about the coulee? There is a teepee circle that is 2,000 years old. The First Nations move their teepees in every season.
A stone cairn is a pile of rocks used to guide travelers. We can sometimes find stone cairns in our coulee.
Another purpose of a stone cairn is to mark a grave
Or in the memory of a loved one.
The First Nations and Europeans hunted buffaloes, antelope, and deer. The buffalo provided almost everything that they needed. That is one reason that the buffalo is a statue in the coulee. If you look closely, you can see a fossil in the buffalo statue's head.
There are many animals like a
Deer, garter snake, ground squirrel, birds, and insects. In the coulee, you will find lots of plants like willows, spear grasses, aspen and spruce trees, and mayflowers. The coulee is an important part of our community, Tuscany. It takes about 20 minutes to walk from Eric Harvie School. What does a coulee feel like? In the coulee, we feel cold but warm, calm, and excited to explore.
12-mile coulee is a nice place to relax and be calm. It's lovely. If you have a sit spot, you'll love the coulee forever.
You will always remember the buffalo. The buffalo statue still stands tall. It should always be a reminder
Of how the buffalo used to roam and own the land free with pride.
Is that the end, Eric Harvie?
Yeah, that's the end.
That was amazing. And of course, that was a green screen, which we've never done before. And that took a lot of work to figure out how to get that streaming in the live webcast. So thanks for persevering and solving that problem. I'm going to go back to screen sharing for a moment. And I'm going to show you the map that Eric Harvie created that shows where their school is and shows where the coulee is. And from someone who lives in the East who never heard of coulees before, I've really learned a lot. And I have questions about the coulee. So that's really very interesting. The next school is something I'm going to hand over to Mrs. Kobuka so that she can explain it, because it's something totally different than what we're used to. So I'm going to stop screen sharing and I'm going to hand it over to Mrs. Kobuka.
Oh, all right, thank you. I wonder if you could put our screen share on again and just show the slide. So Argyll Center in Edmonton, Alberta is an online school. And so our students live across Alberta. Most of them live in Edmonton, but a number of them live across Alberta, and some of them who are Alberta residents are traveling. So this year we actually have a student who is in Zimbabwe. We have a couple of students in the US as well. So if you are seeing the screen share there, you will see that our school is in Edmonton in Alberta. However, we have one student who lives on the prairie in a rural setting, and so we thought it would be perfect to have her speak to us today. And you can see her, the spot where she lives. It's McLaughlin, Alberta, and she will tell you a little bit about her little hamlet. And she is a student, an online student at our school. And we actually know Chloe very well. We meet with her often online. So I'm going to give the mic over to her. She has lots of great things to share with us about her home on the prairies. So Chloe, go ahead and take the mic.
Hi everybody, I live in a hamlet near Lloydminster. It is a border. Half of the city is in Alberta and half is in Saskatchewan. This is what it is like to live on the prairies. When you're a kid on the prairies, you can hear wind blowing in the trees, cows mooing in the field, moo, tractors roaring as they work, coyotes howling at night, howoo. Sometimes it is so quiet in our little hamlet you can even hear deer hopping in the tall grass. When you're a kid on the prairies, you can see moose shaking their fuzzy beards, fields of old wheat blowing in the wind, oil pumps nodding their heads, baby animals with their mamas in the spring. There are stars, and in the winter you can see the blues and greens of the northern lights. When you're a kid on the prairies, you can smell wonderful things like wild prairie roses, fresh air after the rain, and fresh cut fields. But sometimes the smells on the prairies can be yucky, like the canola plant manure in the farmer's field, or a frightened skunk pee you. And on the prairies you can taste juicy steak, buttery corn on the cob, juicy Viking sausages, pillowy homemade pierogies, and sweet Saskatoon berry syrup. Yum! When you can walk the streets of your hamlet or town and feel safe. You feel free when you run through the grass, chasing a beautiful, colorful butterfly. You feel calm when you look at the windmills turning round and round. You feel like it's a great big world where you can see for miles around. You feel like you are home when you see the pink, blue, purple, and white layers of the sunrise each day. Thank you for listening.
Chloe, that was amazing. Thank you for giving us a real sense of what it's like to live on the prairies. So I'm going to hand it back over to Mrs. Kabuka. Do you have any questions that people have asked that we could direct to some of these classes?
Yes, I do for sure. And I'm just looking at a couple of more questions that are coming in for Chloe here too. So I'm just going to grab that one question. Thank you, Chloe, for giving us such a good sense of all the senses on the prairies. And now I have some great questions to ask of students, and if you some of those I know were answered in the chat as we were going along, but I'm going to start with École Wascana Plains, and one of the questions that was in the chat was the students were wondering if hockey was a popular sport at your school, and if you could tell us about that. So Wascana Plains, do you want to tell us about that? And
no football. The question is hockey a popular sport?
I think hockey is a popular sport to Canada because especially in the prairies where it's nice and cold, it's more of a winter sport. And like outside for me, I play hockey all the time. There's a pond outside of our house and you go out there to skate in the summer and it just feels like a great experience during the winter, and I just think it's a great winter sport and I think it's fun.
How many hockey players in there? We have at least 6 or 7 hockey players in our room.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. All right. It definitely shows us that it is a very popular sport, right? If you've got 6 or 7 hockey players there already. And you talked about the tornadoes, and we wondered if there were any recent tornadoes that have happened in the last few years. Could you tell us about that? Has there been anything recent?
There have been recent tornadoes.
No, there has not been a recent tornado.
I will jump in that. Not in Regina necessarily, but in Saskatchewan there will be touchdowns all year, all summer long. There'll be tornado warnings, and we get a high wind gusts all of the time. So wind's a big deal, and tornadoes are often in the summertime.
Thank you. Marge, can you unmute your microphone?
Thank you. I will do that. I'm just looking at some more. Oh, and let's take a look here. Would you say that farming is the biggest industry in Saskatchewan? A school had a question about that, farming in Saskatchewan. You want to tell us a little bit about that? I think you did mention it, and we'd like you to just tell us a little bit more.
Is there someone there who can tell us a little bit more about farming in Saskatchewan? And you'll need to unmute the mic. Perfect.
Good.
Sorry, what's the question?
Is Saskatchewan a big industry or farming a big industry in Saskatchewan?
For sure. We have in Saskatchewan, we're called flat. We have flatland everywhere. Like somewhere in Alberta, where you guys have mountains near, and it's just we have more land to do it, and we got rich farmland. So I feel yeah. I'm just talking out of my head.
Thank you, and
thank
you, and I think you had some support there.
Yeah.
It's good for cows.
We have wheat, flax, oats, all sorts of different crops.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, excellent. Okay. I'm going to move that on to our next school, which is Hazel M. Kellington School in Neepewa. And so these questions are for you that were in our chat. And thank you so much to Wascana Plains for their answers, impromptu and supported by each other. So Neepewa, here's one of the questions that people were asking. They were wondering about your favorite things about winter in your community. What are some of your favorite things about winter in your community?
We like sledding, making snowmen, snow angels, hockey. Sometimes some of us like to curl. Personally, I like to curl. Those are some things.
That's excellent.
Awesome. You've given us some really good ideas of what it would be, what kinds of things you could do in the winter. Curling seems like a prairie sport to me. Another person had a question about the Northern Lights. I'm wondering if any of you have had a chance to see the Northern Lights, or if you can tell us anything about the Northern Lights.
We sometimes see the northern lights in the winter when we're out of town. Out of town in Neepewa.
Oh, thank you. So you need to get out of the city to see the Northern Lights, and you have a chance to see them. I think you're very lucky. That's something not everyone in Canada gets to see. That's really great. Could you give us an idea of how much snow you get in the winter? I think somebody had a question about that.
Real loud.
Around this much.
Okay, you want to come up in front and show?
Do you want to all show us? You can show us with your hands.
Yeah.
Make it around this much snow each year.
And some years a lot more.
Lots of shoveling has to happen there, I think, right? Look at
Absolutely.
that. And lots of good opportunities for sledding, so that sounds good. All right. Thanks for your good answers, Neepewa, Manitoba. We appreciate that. And we'll move on to Eric Harvie in Calgary. So there was some questions about how you did your background. And I wonder if you even wanted, someone mentioned, Eric Harvie, that it was a green screen. Could you maybe have someone explain a little bit about what that is like?
Well, really it's just taped to a wall and we have a camera set on it. So when we walk through, the green screen shows pictures that we took at the coulee.
Wow. So those pictures are pictures that you kids took at the coulee.
Yes.
Oh, I'm so glad you told us that because I didn't know that. And so what's behind you in the classroom is a green cloth or a green something?
Yeah, it's like a big green sheet.
A big green sheet. Yeah, you can actually dye a green sheet, a sheet that you have on your bed. And so the computer is putting the pictures behind you.
Yeah.
That took a little bit for us to figure out how to do it, and you folks had to stay there and stand there until we figured out how to get it working. But to the teachers of Eric Harvie, there were many of them that were helping. I really want to thank you because I think you've given an idea to lots of people about what they'd like to do.
You're welcome.
Is there any other questions for the kids, Marge?
Oops, just a sec here. I have there was one other question and it's a little bit random. So I'm just going to give you a chance to tell me if you know the answer. The question was, is there a famous basketball player in your city or province? And I do not know. That's a random question that I'm not expecting you to know the answer to. But if you do, go for it. Otherwise, we can all Google that too.
All the boys behind me are saying no.
No.
Not that I know of. Not that we know of. They still could be, but
We'd like to share one fact with you about the coulee. There was a cougar sighting there, and that sometimes happens very close to us.
Yeah, there's a lot of cougars.
Wow.
We see moose there as well.
Coyotes, and once in a while there's like coyote or a deer.
Do they ever come into your neighborhood? Because it looks like the coulee isn't very far from your neighborhood.
Once, some moose and cougars do sometimes. Yeah.
Sorry, what did you say? I didn't hear what animal you said.
Some moose and cougars do come in sometimes. Yeah.
Come down your street?
Yeah, once.
Oh, wow.
Not as much cougars down the street, but moose, yeah. And not that often, but once in a while.
Yeah.
Enough to be memorable, right? When that happens, it's really something to see a big moose on your street. That to me is a typical Canadian thing. So thank you very much, Eric Harvie, for explaining a green screen to us and helping us know so much about the coulees. That was just great. I have a question for all of you. Please note that there's lots of good questions and answers going on in the chat as well. So I'm going to move to Chloe. And Chloe, you have a question. Someone is asking you, do you like doing school online? And so since this is your teacher, I should be nervous about asking you that question. Go ahead, Chloe, and I think we're still screen sharing with Eric Harvie, but in a moment we can switch up to Chloe. And you can tell us if you like doing school online and some of the advantages of it.
Chloe?
I think we still are doing the screen sharing.
But that's okay. She'll come up.
Okay. Go ahead, Chloe.
Yeah, I like it.
Chloe, can you explain how it works? Like, how do you go to school online? You don't go to school?
We meet in an online class.
And so you get lessons in the online class, and then what happens?
So what did we do in class? Board.
We work on the board.
Okay. And then do you do your own work afterwards?
And the online whiteboard.
Okay.
And let's see. And how do you know some of the things that you're going to do, say in math or in language arts? Where else do you or your mom look to do other things?
On your locker.
And
you have assignments online.
I have assignments online.
Okay, so Chloe, in our school, we have a thing called a locker. And in the locker, every student can access the courses that they're taking online, right? So Chloe goes to her locker. She can see her work that she's going to be doing. She can see videos. We also meet regularly in an online class, just like she explained today.
And the school sends us books to work with.
And do you make friends with the other kids in the class? So you actually have a class. You're homeschooled, but you have a class. So it's kind of a bit of both. So that was something I'd never heard of. I'd heard of older kids at university taking courses online, but I'd never heard of kindergarten to grade 3 taking place online. That's so interesting.
And so I could just even explain, Chloe, do you want to tell us a little bit about our Pumpkin Research Day and how that worked? Well, how did that work? Who did you meet with in the morning? And then what did you do during the day? And then how did we meet at the end of the day? Do you remember? Do you want to tell a little bit about that?
We met in Google Hangouts and then we cut open the pumpkin and we counted how many seeds were in the pumpkin.
We were doing some research, yeah.
And then we met back in Hangouts.
So you did your own pumpkin at your house. Is that right? Yeah. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that an interesting way of going to school? That's part of new technology, and that's what we're trying to do with this. And I think what we're going to do, we've got 5 minutes left. Are there any other questions, Marge, before we wrap up?
I'm just going to double check. There was one question of Chloe, is there a big city near you? And I think you mentioned it. Do you want to mention it again, Chloe?
The closest city to us is Lloydminster, and it's a border city.
And what does a border city? Just explain that again.
Half of it is in Alberta, and half of it is in Saskatchewan.
Chloe, you have so many interesting different things in your life. You have a city, you go to school online, and the closest city is in 2 different provinces. That's so weird.
2 prairie provinces. I think she really qualifies as a prairie person.
Absolutely. And thank you to Mom there for helping with this, because I know you're off camera, but we really appreciate all that you do to make this possible. So I'm just going to screen share here and just go to our final few slides. We want the people in the audience to know that you can find out more from today's guests by going online, and you can especially find out more if you register for the Kids Guide Project. You can go to these different places online where they've posted the kinds of things that the classes did today, and you can find out the class and the school, and then you simply go to, you get an account, free account for both of these. You go to your Digital Human Library account and you look up the class and the school, and you can connect with the teacher privately behind the scenes and find out if your two classes would like to send mail. Perhaps they would like to do a video conference themselves. Perhaps they would like to send videos back and forth, which is what we found in some of the remote areas. They don't have the bandwidth to do a live webcast or a video conference. So they're preparing little mini slideshows that don't take up a lot of space, and they're sending them back and forth. There are lots of ways that you can connect with classes across Canada. And if you're doing a certain study of a certain topic, like you're doing a year-long study on plants, you could get in touch with quite a number of different classes, or math, or story writing, whatever it is that you're doing in your class. So we want to thank you for being a part of this learning journey. And we want to remind you that we have other webcasts coming up that if you can see yourself and your class doing some kind of presentation like this, just get in touch with us and let us know. So thank you to all of our presenting classes, to Eric Harvie School in Calgary, to Wascana Plains in Regina, to Chloe and the Argyll Center in Edmonton, and to the Hazel M. Kellington School in Neepewa. So please check us out online, and thanks, and I hope that you enjoyed this learning journey. We're all learning together, both the students and the teachers. So thanks very much, and we're going to say goodbye.
Thank you.
Okay, everyone say goodbye.
Bye.